Can you build me a computer? What? You want to build a computer? What's your budget? I don't know. Okay, do you know if you want to go Intel, AMD? What about NVIDIA or AMD for the GPU? I don't know. All right, clearly we need to figure a few things out. So let me just finish up work here and then we will discuss how to build a computer. All right? Okay, cool. So you want to build a computer, but it seems really intimidating and daunting. Well, you're not alone. In fact, most, if not all of us who build computers felt the exact same way when they started out. But there's a ton of resources now online, including hopefully this video, explaining exactly what you should be looking out for, what the components are, and then we'll also see some footage of me putting together a build that we did recently on one of our live stream platforms. So the first thing that you have to remember is your PC, the rig, if you will, it's kind of like a human body. The CPU or the central processing unit handles everything that happens in your computer, whether it's executing programs or files or just even running the operating system itself. It all starts at the CPU. And really, when you look at the CPU, there are two main things that you want to keep an eye out for: cores and clock speed. Cores are like individual workers. The more cores that you have, the more multitasking you could potentially do on your computer. And clock speed, which is measured in gigahertz, by the way, can tell you how many operations can be performed in a single second per core. The higher the clock speed, the more efficient those cores can be, and the more multitasking you can have done. And for this particular build, we partnered with AMD to provide us with their Ryzen 7 9700X 3.8 GHz 8-core processor. I'm going to gingerly place this into the corner and then let it drop. And that's it. RAM, or random access memory, is your computer's short-term memory. So if we continue with that human being analogy, well, it's your human's short-term memory. The type of memory that you can conjure up almost immediately. For example, my daughter just introduced me to a brand new artist the other day, or my wife reminded me that I need to give her my measurements so she can put together my costume for the Renaissance Fair. That's short-term memory. However, there is long-term memory, which we'll get to in a little bit. But back to RAM. The more RAM you have, the smoother your computer is going to run, the more multitasking you can do and take full advantage of all the different cores that your CPU has. And since we're building a gaming PC, the faster your games are going to load. And in this build, we partnered with Crucial to provide us with both RAM and storage. And with our RAM, they provided the Crucial DDR5 Pro OC gaming memory. So I'm just going to use 2 fingers here, press that down. And so if you have short-term memory, you also must have long-term memory, like any other human. You remember your birthday, you remember your anniversary, right? In the computer world, your long-term memory is going to be your storage. And now in 2025, we've got M.2. And with an M.2 drive, you can store long-term all of your important files, photos, music, all of your games, and most importantly, the operating system. So what did Crucial hook us up with? Well, they came in clutch with the P510 M.2. And what makes this stick so intriguing is that it has a read speed of up to 11,000 megabytes per second and a write speed of around 9,500 megabytes per second. That's fast. And yeah, that's pretty cool. But you know what else is pretty cool? How easy it is to install on your motherboard. Check it out. No cables required. Ta-da! In your PC, the motherboard is going to connect all the things. So in a way, in a human, it's like your nervous system. The CPU, or the brain, might talk to your short-term memory and then in turn talk to your long-term memory. And then depending on what you're doing, it might even enact the GPU or your eyes and everything else in between. The motherboard is extremely crucial. And it's also very crucial that you don't just get any motherboard. You need to make sure all these little components that we're talking about can actually communicate with each other. The AMD Ryzen processor that we're using only works with motherboards that can read and accept AMD processors. And with this build, we were able to partner with MSI, and they provided us with the MSI MPG 870E Edge TI Wi-Fi motherboard. This is a beast. This motherboard is not only almost future-proof, but it also is backwards compatible in certain components. It's got multiple DIMM slots for RAM, multiple slots for M.2. The M.2 slots are beautifully hidden behind these heat sinks, and the I/O on the back, you have all the inputs and outputs that you would really need for your run-of-the-mill gaming machine and more. You see how it says 10 gig Ethernet? That's crazy.
I love this because the heatsink, there's no screw to take the heatsink off. You just push this little lever right there and just raises it up.
And of course, we cannot forget about the main component that is in a gaming computer. And that is, of course, the GPU. And for this human being analogy, well, I said it before, the GPU are kind of like the eyes because it's a graphical processing unit and it's going to show you the graphics. Again, AMD has swooped in and has provided us with a fantastic GPU, the ASRock Steel Legend OC Radeon 9070 16GB. Extremely well designed, it's engineered to deliver high quality performance and graphics, whether you're playing video games or you're doing 3D rendering, any of those sorts of heavy-handed load works. And normally we would be placing this in the slot that's directly in the motherboard, but in this particular build, because of the case, we're going to use the PC Riser. In reality, the PC Risers do very little for the PC build, but for the look and feel and aesthetic, PC Risers can go a long way. And the way that I want to display this GPU, the Riser is going to come in clutch.
Fantastic. And this particular graphics card, as you can see here, DVI, and one HDMI.
And now, speaking as a robot that's pretending to be human, I've learned that humans need to be able to breathe in and out, not only through their mouth and nose, but throughout the whole body. Their pores, if you will, their sweat glands. I know this is kind of disgusting, if you will, but in this analogy, that's kind of what we can think of with the fans and the AIO. The AIO, or the all-in-one cooler, is essentially a cooler that cools down your CPU or cools down your brain. It regulates the temperature so your CPU of your computer does not overheat. But within the AIO, there is liquid, and it's pulling in air from outside, and it's using the liquid to cool down the CPU, and then it's pushing that hot air back into the case, and then the other fans that you have either built into the case or you can purchase separately, those fans will push the air right back out. So you take in air and then push out other air. It's this recycled system of air. This is the THICK Q60 from Height. And not only does it have a fantastic radiator that you can choose if you want air to be pulled in or pushed out, completely up to you, and it's all magnetic and modular, but on this AIO, as a part of the cooler head that goes on top of the CPU, there's a 5-inch display that allows you to show readouts of your computer's temperatures, clock speeds, or if you want, you can just share pictures. This is an overkill of a CPU cooler, of an AIO, but I gotta say, this is really up my alley.
So we are actually going to put the radiator right in here. Now, if I really wanted to, I could have removed the two front glass panels to make it that much easier for me to get to where the radiator is going to go. I didn't do that because it just would have taken way too much time.
And to make matters easier, they provided us with the fans as well. The Height FP12 fans are 32mm fans that are modular. They magnetically connect and they can get screwed in onto the top or even onto the bottom of this particular case. You want to double check how your airflow is going to go. Definitely diagram it out. I highly recommend you diagram it out. But then once you do, you don't need to power the fans directly into the motherboard and worry about all these extra cables for each individual fan. No, you could just use the included Nexus cable and connect it directly to the radiator, and it just gets powered through the radiator. Again, it's just all connected and it all works. And so now the fan is connected to the radiator is connected to the motherboard. The CPU is connected to the motherboard, the GPU is connected to the motherboard, everything is connected to the motherboard, but there's no blood pumping. There's no electricity. How do you get the electricity to go? Well, just like a heart, you need some power. You need a PSU. The PSU, or power supply, is literally that. It provides power to every single component that is connected to the PC. And that isn't just what's inside, that's also what's like on the outside of the PC case as well. Look at your PC case right now, or even your laptop case. You have USB inputs, you have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, you might have other buttons to turn on and lower or raise the volume independently. Those all need power. And with the MSI A1000G PCIe 5 1000 watt 80 plus gold PSU, you're going to get the power and more. This particular power supply is modular. Most of them are these days. Back in the day, all the plugs were there. You just had to deal with them. But now you can choose how many leads or how many cables you're going to use with your build. So for us, we use 3 cables in addition to the motherboard cable and the CPU cable and a few of the other ones. But if we had more internal components, we could connect those internal components via SATA or Molex or some other connection.
Very, very simple with a modular style PSU. Now, there is a fan here, and so I don't really want to put the fan this way because then it's going to hit the heat shield here and it's not going to have any kind of airflow. So I do want to have the fan facing out, but also I want to make sure that the power stuff is facing out too. So I'm going to install it this way.
And so with the heart, or the PSU, taken care of, let's look at the main component of this whole build, the thing that's just screaming out at you as you look at it, the case, or in the analogy, your skeleton. There are so many cases to choose from. There's ones that support ATX or mini ATX and a few in between. It really just comes down to you, your personality, and what kind of look and feel you want out of your computer. I chose to go with the standard ATX motherboard, and that way we could take advantage of this amazing Height Y70 case. The Height Y70 case also has a touch component as well too. We opted not to get the touchscreen, but if you want to, you can. But again, this goes into your personal preference and what you want out of your computers in its regard to aesthetics and look and feel. And while I did make a small mistake while doing the build live on our streaming platform, the case didn't cause any kind of problem. Everything either popped out or screwed out very, very simply, and then conversely, screwed back in or popped right back on. And so this is the build. Look, I'll be the first to admit, this is a beast of a machine. And I know some of you might say, I want that exact same spec. And some might say, oh, that's a little bit overkill. And that's fine. Building a computer is completely up to you, how much power you want to put into it and how much power you want to get out of it. But the reality is, what it kind of comes down to at the end of the day is your budget. How much are you willing to spend in totality? And so if you set a number, it could be 800, 900, 1,000, then you can kind of figure out, okay, if that is my max, I need to find a motherboard that can fit within that budget. Maybe the motherboard not going to have a Wi-Fi radio. That's fine, I'll just connect directly with an Ethernet cable. Maybe I only have enough budget for 1 stick of RAM, so I only can get 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's fine, you can build upon that. That's the beauty of building your own computer. You can upgrade as you go. You don't have to get the best of the best of the best right out of the gate. Start small and then go from there. And so with that being said, if you have any other questions, please let us know in the comment section down below. Links as always can be found in the description below. A huge shout out to all the partners that helped us out with this build on the live stream and for these videos here. And until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Later.